Alexei wiped the sweat from his brow, staring at the stubborn latch of his own gate. The spring had rusted long ago, and he had been putting off fixing it for weeks. As he muttered to himself, a sleek, black car glided into the driveway next door. The gate swung slightly but refused to open fully. A woman stepped out, tall and graceful, with a presence that seemed to fill the space around her. She was impeccably dressed, yet her expression was one of frustration. She pushed the button on the gate opener again, but nothing happened. With a soft sigh, she stepped closer to the gate, testing it with her hand. Alexei's curiosity got the better of him. "Need some help?" he called, his voice a little rough from a long day of work. She turned, slightly startled, and for a moment, her sharp, calculating gaze softened as she looked at him. "If you know how to fix it, that would be appreciated," she said, a hint of amusement in her voice. Alexei walked over, examining the mechanism. "It looks like the motor's jammed. I can take a look," he said, kneeling down to inspect it. His hands were rough from years of labor, contrasting sharply with the delicate gold watch on her wrist. While he worked, she watched silently, occasionally making small remarks. "You don't look like a professional," she said lightly. "I'm not," Alexei admitted, smirking. "Just a guy who doesn't like gates that won't open." She laughed softly, the sound light and melodic, and it caught him off guard. "Well, I suppose that makes two of us then," she said. Minutes passed, and Alexei's hands worked nimbly over the stubborn latch. Finally, with a satisfying click, the gate moved freely. He stood, brushing off his hands. "There. Good as new." She looked at him, a mixture of surprise and something else he couldn't quite name. "I didn't expect it to be fixed so quickly." "Thank you," she said sincerely. Alexei shrugged, his chest rising with a small, proud smile. "Just doing my neighborly duty." She extended her hand, not just in thanks but as a silent invitation to a connection neither of them realized would grow into something much deeper. Alexei took it, feeling the warmth of her touch, unaware that this simple act would mark the start of a life-changing story. Her name, he learned moments later, was Isabella, and she wasn't just any neighbor. She was an heiress to a fortune that would soon turn his quiet world upside down. Alexei stayed longer than he expected, helping Isabella adjust the delicate motor of the gate. As he worked, he noticed the intricate details of the property, manicured hedges, fountains, and elegant stone pathways. It was a world so different from his modest home, yet he felt oddly comfortable here, as if the walls themselves were inviting him in. "Careful with that," Isabella warned, her voice light but tinged with concern, as Alexei adjusted a small lever. She stepped closer, and for the first time, he noticed the sharp intelligence in her eyes, the way they seemed to take in every detail of him and his work. "I know what I'm doing," Alexei said, though he admitted to himself that the mechanism was far more complicated than he had imagined. "Just trust me." She tilted her head, a faint smile playing on her lips. "I usually trust the people I hire, not strangers who show up out of nowhere." He laughed, a low, easy sound. "Well, lucky for you, I don't charge." As the minutes stretched into an hour, Alexei accidentally nudged a decorative panel on the gate, causing it to wobble slightly. "Oops," he muttered, feeling a flash of embarrassment. Isabella's laughter rang out, genuine and unpretentious. "Don't worry, I think it adds character," she teased. Her ease and warmth surprised him, and for a moment, the world of wealth and status she inhabited didn't feel intimidating at all. She motioned toward the patio. "Want some coffee? I think we could both use a break." Alexei hesitated for only a second before accepting. As they walked to the patio, Mila, his bright-eyed daughter, peeked out from behind him, curious about the new neighbor. Isabella crouched down to greet her, instantly connecting with the little girl through a shared love of animals. Coffee cups in hand, they settled into wicker chairs. Isabella spoke of her life managing the estate left by her late father, her voice softening when she mentioned the responsibility and isolation that came with it. Alexei listened carefully, intrigued not just by her wealth, but by the layers of her personality, her humor, her honesty, her occasional vulnerability. "I imagine living alone in such a big house can get lonely," Alexei said thoughtfully. "Sometimes," Isabella admitted, "but I've learned to appreciate my own company, though I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy company like yours." Alexei smiled, feeling the weight of the unspoken acknowledgement between them. There was an unsteady connection forming, One built not on wealth or appearances, but on the simplicity of shared time, laughter, and the subtle understanding that they were both searching for something real in a world that often felt unreal. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow over the garden, Alexei realized that what started as a simple act of fixing a gate had transformed into a moment he wouldn't soon forget. And Isabella, observing him quietly, felt a spark of curiosity and admiration she hadn't expected to find in her carefully ordered life. Word of Alexei's visit to Isabella's estate spread quickly through the neighborhood, though not in the way he might have hoped. Whispers of the handsome, rugged single father helping the wealthy heiress sparked curiosity, gossip, and a hint of envy among the local socialites. Some of Isabella's usual suitors, young men used to being admired for money and status, were noticeably unsettled by Alexei's presence, their attempts at charm falling flat in comparison to his quiet confidence and genuine nature. Meanwhile, Alexei returned home to his small, modest house, where his daughter, Mila, was buzzing with excitement. "Dad, did you see her? She's like a princess," Mila exclaimed, bouncing on her toes. Alexei chuckled, ruffling her hair. "She's nice, that's all," he said, though even he couldn't deny that her presence lingered in his thoughts longer than expected. The next few days brought a series of chance encounters. Alexei would run into Isabella while picking up groceries or walking Mila to school. Sometimes, it was a brief exchange, "Morning, Alexei," other times, a deeper conversation about life, work, or small, seemingly trivial things that revealed more about each other. Isabella's fascination with Alexei grew as she observed how he moved through life with practicality, warmth, and a quiet strength that no amount of wealth could buy. One Saturday, Alexei decided to return to Isabella's house, not for the gates, but to help her with some garden work she couldn't manage alone. Mila insisted on coming along, and the three of them spent the day planting flowers, laughing when Alexei got dirt under his fingernails or accidentally watered the wrong plant. "You know," Isabella said as she watched Alexei struggle with a stubborn root, "you're not exactly what I expected from someone who fixes gates." "Not exactly what you expected," he repeated, grinning. "I'll take that as a compliment." Mila clapped her hands. "Dad's awesome, Ms. Isabella. He's the best gardener ever." Isabella smiled, genuinely charmed, and something in her expression shifted, a softness that no luxury or social standing had ever drawn from her. Before, she realized that what she admired in Alexei wasn't just his skill or his humor, but his devotion to Mila, the way he treated others, and his ability to find joy in simple things. As the day ended, Alexei and Isabella lingered near the gate, watching Mila chase the family dog across the yard. "You know," she said softly, "I think my life has been missing people like you and Mila." Alexei's heart warmed, yet he remained careful, hiding the deeper stirrings of his feelings. "Maybe we've been missing each other without realizing it," he replied quietly. That moment, fleeting and simple, cemented the growing bond between them. Rumors and wealth aside, Alexei and Isabella began discovering something far more valuable: connection, trust, and the beginnings of a love that neither money nor status could define. And little did they know, their lives were about to become even more entangled in ways that would test courage, loyalty, and the strength of their hearts. The invitation arrived in an elegantly embossed envelope, delivered by a uniformed courier to Alexei's modest home. He stared at it, unsure whether to laugh or panic. Isabella's annual corporate gala, a glittering, high-society event where deals were made over champagne and caviar, was worlds apart from his everyday life of repairs, invoices, and school runs. "You have to go," Isabella said when he showed her the invitation later that evening, her tone playful but insistent. "I insist. You've earned a night out, and besides, I need someone who can remind me what real life feels like." Alexei looked down at his worn jacket and scuffed shoes. "I don't think these will exactly cut it," he muttered, running a hand through his hair. "You'll fit in fine," Isabella replied, rolling her eyes with a smile. "Or, at the very least, you'll be memorable." Reluctantly, Alexei accepted her encouragement. When the night of the gala arrived, Isabella drove him to the mansion hosting the event. The towering columns, sparkling lights, and well-dressed guests left him momentarily speechless. He could feel the eyes of many upon him as they entered, whispers passing among the elegantly attired crowd. Inside, the atmosphere was dazzling: soft music, the clinking of glasses, and laughter that sounded rehearsed to him. Wealth radiated from every corner: art on the walls, crystal chandeliers, and jewelry that glimmered brighter than the stars outside. A rival suitor, one of Isabella's usual admirers, noticed Alexei and stepped forward with a smirk. "So, you're the handyman," he sneered, voice dripping with condescension. "Here to fix a gate or impress the heiress?" Alexei met his gaze evenly, a calm confidence in his eyes. "Neither. I came to remind her what real people look like," he said, his tone steady. A hush seemed to fall over the nearby guests, impressed by his poise and boldness. Isabella, observing from a distance, felt a surge of pride. This was the man who had mended her gates and, in the process, had unknowingly mended a part of her own guarded heart. She joined him, linking her arm through his. "Alexei, you've done more than fix a gate, you've fixed my evening," she said with a wink. Throughout the night, Alexei navigated the crowd with surprising ease. He laughed at polite jokes, held conversations with curious colleagues, and even managed to charm a few skeptical investors with his straightforward honesty and subtle humor. Isabella noticed how naturally he carried himself, his authenticity standing out amid the glittering pretension. Later, as they stood on a balcony overlooking the city lights, Isabella turned to him. "You know," she said softly, "I've seen a lot of people in my life, but very few make me feel this grounded." Alexei smiled, the night breeze tugging at his jacket. "I could say the same about you," he admitted. "It's strange, isn't it? Two people from completely different worlds, and somehow it feels right." For a moment, the glamour and social tension faded, leaving only the quiet, unspoken connection between them. The gala had been more than an event, it was a test, a revelation, and a turning point. Alexei had survived the world of wealth and power, but more importantly, he had begun to discover a place in Isabella's heart that no amount of status or money could ever replace. The night air was cool and crisp as Alexei and Isabella stepped out of the gala, their laughter still lingering from a private joke shared earlier. For a moment, the glow of the city lights reflected in Isabella's eyes, making her look softer, more vulnerable than anyone outside her inner circle had ever seen. "Thank you for tonight," she said quietly, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. "You made me forget, even for a little while, that all this," she gestured vaguely toward the grand mansion and glittering skyline, "can feel so suffocating." Alexei looked at her, his heart thudding in a way he hadn't expected. "You don't have to pretend with me, Isabella," he said gently. "I see you. Not the wealth, not the title, just you." She hesitated, then smiled softly, a mixture of relief and longing. "I think, I've wanted someone to see me like that for a long time," she admitted. They lingered in the quiet street, their hands brushing lightly, neither daring to make the first move towards something neither fully understood but both deeply felt. It was in that silence, heavy with anticipation, that a sudden chime from her phone broke the moment. Isabella glanced at the screen and froze. Her expression shifted instantly from warmth to shock. It's about the inheritance," she whispered, her voice tight. Alexei took her hand instinctively, steadying her. "What's wrong?" he asked, concern etched across his face. "There's a family contesting it," she said, her words trembling slightly. "They claim part of the estate should belong to them. It's complicated, and it could jeopardize everything." Alexei squeezed her hand firmly. "We'll figure it out," he said with quiet determination. "Whatever comes, we face it together." Isabella looked at him, her eyes reflecting gratitude, fear, and something else, hope. For the first time in years, she felt like she wasn't alone in her world of expectations and obligations. As they walked back toward her estate, neither noticed the shadow lurking across the street. A figure, watching from a distance, followed their every movement, taking careful note of Alexei's involvement in Isabella's life. Unseen and silent, the figure made a call, their voice low and calculating. "Yes, he's the one. He doesn't know yet, but he's about to become very important." Alexei, unaware of the hidden danger, opened the gate for Isabella one last time. They paused at the threshold, exchanging a look that spoke volumes: trust, connection, and the unspoken promise of something deeper. The night closed in around them, and though the stars shone brightly above, the future was uncertain. Yet, in that moment, amidst laughter, whispered confessions, and looming threats, one truth was undeniable: they had found something neither expected, a bond that could weather both wealth and danger, and perhaps, in time, love itself.